Hi everyone, so this video I'm going to be talking about the iPad from an artist perspective, and I use Procreate as my drawing program. So I'm not going to really go into all the specs of the iPad and the pencil. It's not really going to be a tutorial on how to use it or how to use Procreate. It's just going to be my thoughts on it after using it for a couple months and how it's helped me, the pros and cons, and how it compares to a normal tablet and all that kind of stuff. This is all just like my opinion and how it works for me, so it could definitely be different for someone else. So I'm just going to jump right in. I'm going to start with talking about the screen and how it actually feels to draw. If you're considering getting one, definitely go to an Apple store and test it out and see how the different models work for you and how big they feel, because the 12-inch? The 12-inch one is quite big, but the 10-inch and 9.7 ones aren't as small as you think. They're actually a pretty good size, in my opinion. That's the one I got. I should probably mention that. I have the iPad Pro, the 10-inch one. That's the one I chose to get. I just wanted to spend the bit of extra money just to get the, I guess, slightly faster one, in hopes that it'll remain fast for longer, I guess. And there's hardly any parallax. I think there's like almost basically zero parallax, which is basically the distance between where your pen actually touches the screen and where the cursor appears. It appears like it's directly under the pen. There's no gap. Although parallax really isn't that big of a deal, and Wacom tablets have so much parallax, like Cintiqs do, so I don't care about parallax, but I just thought it'd be cool. It's kind of like a bonus. It's also anti-glare, which is really, really nice. And the anti-glare was kind of worth it for me to spend the extra money. It's not very reflective. It's a very, very dark screen. I was actually pretty impressed by the anti-glare. So I first found it kind of slippery to draw on, but of course I got used to it. A lot of artists use screen protectors. I didn't use one for the longest time. It worked fine without it. It actually allowed me to sketch a little bit faster because all the other tablets I've used in the past have some kind of tooth on the screen, and I couldn't go too fast because it would kind of like almost restrict the pen movement. But that was good because it allowed for more control, so I always preferred the toothiness. But I didn't really want to get a screen protector. I thought it would like hinder me more than it would help me, sort of thing. But one day I just went on Amazon. I decided to grab a pack of matte screen protectors. Also, it protects your screen from scratches, so it's kind of like a win-win situation. And I immediately loved it. It gave it that extra bit of tooth that it needed, and it allowed me to control my lines so much more. So if you find the screen a little bit slippery, or even if you just want if you want to have a little bit more control, I think matte screen protectors make this so much more usable, and they're not even that expensive. You just gotta do like a quick search on Amazon and you'll find some with a few reviews. Make sure it has good reviews and then just grab it. A lot of people ask me if they should get the big iPad or the smaller ones, and this just basically depends on personal preference. Like I said before, just go to an Apple store, test them out, see which one feels better. The 12-inch one is, of course, much more expensive than the smaller one, and the smaller one isn't too small. I really like it because it's portable, and I'm not worried that's going to break because the screen is just so big. Because the screen isn't so big, it's like a smaller, because like the bigger the screen, the more chance of it getting hurt, because there's just like more area for something to go wrong on the screen. So the smaller it is, it just feels a little bit safer, especially if it's going to be something that's portable. But if this is your main drawing tablet, if this is the only tablet you're planning on getting, then I would probably get the bigger model, because it's always nice to work large. I chose to get the iPad to have more portability. I already had a tablet, and it's actually not that much smaller than the one I had before, and I end up doing like full illustrations on it anyway. It's really, I don't feel limited by the size of it at all. And I'm really glad I went with the smaller one because it's a lot more portable, and I'm not as worried about it breaking as I would a giant screen. But there are some professional artists out there that have the bigger iPad, and they use that for everything. That's their main tablet, and it's still very portable. It's so small and light compared to like any other tablet. So it's really just personal preference. Also, people ask a lot about brushes, and when I first got it, I downloaded a bunch of brushes, I tested them out, and then I just ultimately ended up using the default brushes. I just really like the default brushes. I mostly use the air brushes, but not the super soft ones, the more hard-edged ones, and I really like the sketch brushes, but I just like modified the settings a little bit to make it work better for me. You'll kind of find what works for you. The best way is to experiment, download a bunch of different ones, play with the settings and all that. I really can't tell you what brushes to use because you'll like different brushes than I like. It's just about experimenting. Also, something else I want to mention is the accessories I would recommend to get with the iPad. So definitely get a case. You want it to be protected. So basically, to charge the pencil, you have to take the cap off the end and then plug it in. So I was really worried about losing that little cap because there's no way of it staying on. Like, you have to set it down somewhere. So you can get these little like these little pen cap holder things, and it attaches to the body. So when you take it off of the pen, it kind of hangs there. And it makes you not lose the cap of the pencil that easily. So I would definitely recommend getting one of those. Also, I would definitely recommend getting a pen strap. I'll link all the stuff I use in the description. Like I said before, I have the iPad Pro 10-inch one. So I'll link the stuff that I bought when I got mine. But also, I would recommend getting a pen strap. And that's basically an elastic band that fits around your case. And it's like a little pocket for your pen to go into. And that way you always have your pen with you and you won't lose your pen. So when you grab your iPad, you know your pen is there. There's also pen loops. There's a bunch of different solutions for keeping the pen with the iPad. So I would definitely recommend getting one of those. And also you can get like a bigger protective case for taking it outside, because I wouldn't just leave it in my smaller, not as sturdy case. I like to put it in like a pouch and zip it up and take it with me. Also, a while ago, this video isn't sponsored, but the company Etcher reached out to me, and they make a bunch of different art bags, and it just so happened they emailed me right after I bought my iPad, and they have this bag called the Etcher Slate Mini, and you can actually fit your iPad in it and take it out with you, and you can kind of attach it to your body in a way that it sort of becomes like an easel that is propped up by your own body, if that makes sense. It's such a neat thing, and you can do so many things with these bags. They're super heavy duty. There's so many pockets. There's so many configurations for how you can use the bag. You could put sketchbooks in it too. I just thought I'd mention that because I have that, and it definitely seems like a solution if you plan to go out and travel a lot with your iPad. It's very sturdy, waterproof, and it will protect your iPad, so that's a really good thing. And you can strap the iPad into it and sling the strap around your shoulders, and it stays propped against your stomach like an easel. If you haven't heard of these bags before, I'll put a link. Well, regardless, the link will be in the description if you want to check it out. They're a bit on the pricey side. They're definitely an investment, but if you're looking for something like that, you can go check it out. Of course, another option is to just put it in a zip-up pouch and take it with your backpack. That's what I do most of the time. Another question that I get a lot, and I think a lot of people get a lot whenever they buy an iPad and post about it, is should I get an iPad or should I get a drawing tablet? Now, the thing about the iPad is because it's so small, the programs you can get for it aren't as powerful as programs you would have on a computer. So a lot of people have their iPad as sort of like a side thing, something they can take out with them, and if they need to do more intensive stuff, then they have a computer and a separate tablet for that. But some people use the iPad for everything. Of course, there's a workaround for the programs that have limitations. Like, for instance, Procreate does not have a text tool, and I don't think they have shape tools either. It's missing a lot of stuff that most drawing programs would have. But if you don't need those things, then it's fine. For some people, the iPad is all they need, but for other people, they need something more powerful. So it just kind of depends on your personal needs as an artist and the kinds of stuff you end up doing. I personally think that the iPad is really good for students because I'm a student, and it has made my life so much easier. It's just a lot easier to pick up the iPad, open it, and start drawing than it is to like pull out your tablet, turn it on, boot it up, all that stuff. That sounds lazy, but it really makes a huge difference. I can do, like, it's basically allowed me to take shortcuts because I can take pictures with it, I can print on it, I can edit photos on it, I can send emails, I can do everything. It's made my life so much easier, and It's basically a drawing tablet and a computer mixed together. Not as powerful as a computer, but for me, it works so well. It's made my workflow so much easier. I can take pictures of my sketches really easily and quickly, bring them into Procreate and do some color studies. I can pull up reference photos on it. I can do so much. I didn't realize how much it would just like speed up my whole workflow for me. That's me though. It could be different for you, but for me, I feel like it was just the thing I needed. And the camera is pretty good. It's better than my phone. My phone doesn't have a very good camera, but the iPad camera, the colors are really accurate. Whenever I take a picture on my phone, the color balance is kind of off, but with the iPad, it's pretty good at white balancing. Sometimes it kind of cools things down a little bit too much, but that's okay, I guess. You can always edit it later, but overall, it's a pretty decent camera. It's also really great for traveling. If you're a digital artist and you kind of miss doing digital art when you travel, if you travel a lot, this is probably the thing for you, so that you can work while you're out. And when you get home, if you have a more powerful computer and you have to finish a drawing on the computer or something, you've already done like 90% of the work on your iPad. You can bring it in and like put the final touches sort of thing. But for me, I can do the entire drawing just on the iPad with Procreate. I don't really need anything else because I don't have any like fancy like tools or like effects that I use. It's basically very, very simple, but it's not really missing anything major for me. It also has a liquify tool that they added, which is really, really cool. I've never used liquify before, but it's a really good shortcut for fixing something that's slightly off. One more person asked about file management. Also, I should mention, this is kind of too late to say this, but I kind of asked you to ask me questions, and that's what this video is kind of based on, what people are curious about. So someone asked me about file management and how I like deal with all the files. So I think a good thing, I'm new to Apple. I'm not an Apple user, so I found it really weird trying to get used to using an Apple product. It was definitely, what do you call it? There was a learning curve. There's the word. There's a learning curve for sure, but for the most part, if I need to transfer files, I'll just export them from Procreate directly to Google Drive or OneDrive or some kind of cloud service. That way I can access the art from any computer. You can also, so basically when you're in Procreate, you can export your drawing in any format and export it into any directory. You can save it, you can email it, you can put it on Drive. It's pretty simple and fast way of like transferring files. So I would definitely recommend using like Google Drive or something like that, or OneDrive, or like the cloud, iCloud. I don't know what Apple storage is called. So it's definitely pretty intuitive transferring files. I think it's a pretty good process. Procreate itself might take a little bit of time to get used to all the controls because there's a lot of hidden things you can do, because a lot of them involve like tapping with 2 fingers or just 1 finger or 3 fingers and swiping there. So there's kind of like a lot of hidden things. I would recommend watching a long tutorial explaining everything about Procreate. There's probably some on YouTube if you just search for it. That's what I did, and that's what helped me learn. If there's anything I don't know how to do, I'll just quickly Google it and then I'll figure it out. So I hope I covered everything I wanted to cover. I should say also that the pressure sensitivity is excellent. The pen is very responsive, it charges really fast. The iPad itself doesn't charge very fast, but it does last pretty long, especially if you dim the screen a little bit. It's not too heavy. I think that covers everything. I really hope that you got something from this video, and I hope that I answered some of your questions. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Maybe some other people can help you out, and I will try my best to as well. But it just depends on how many comments I get. But I try to answer questions when I have the time, and as many as I can. So I hope this answered your questions about the iPad. If you're considering getting it, test it out first. And that's all I have to say. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.